Hello, thank you everyone for joining us today at the session about the future of work. My name is Roy Zur and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Cybint. Cybint is a cybersecurity education company. We focus on reskilling the workforce and upskilling the industry in cybersecurity. And we do this in partnership with education institutions around the world, including universities, colleges, vocational training companies, and others. In this session, I'm going to talk about the future of work in the context of the future of education, or how to keep higher education relevant to meet the market demand that is ever changing. As I said, my name is Roy and I started actually a company called Cybint several years ago. Before Cybint, my background is actually coming from cybersecurity in different government agencies and military organizations in Israel. One of the main challenges that I learned in Israel is how to take 18-year-olds right out of high school with no necessary or with no special skills and knowledge in cybersecurity and reskill these people into cybersecurity and other tech positions in a very short period of time, in 3 to 6 months. And my main mission and vision is taking the same concepts and methodologies that I've been doing in Israel for many years and bring it to the industry. So for the past 6 years, I've been doing it with industries, education institutions, and other organizations around the world, including many organizations and universities and colleges in the United States. As we can understand from the topic of the current session, one of the main challenges that we are facing today is actually how to keep education relevant in the context of the future of work. Many students, learners, whether it's degree program, non-degree program, executive programs, expect that education will provide them the ability to work and to build a career, whether it's in tech, in business, in other related topics. This is the main expectations that students and learners have from the education system. But one of the challenges is that many different jobs are disappearing or changing significantly as the world is going through digital transformation. So while some jobs are disappearing, other jobs are growing rapidly and require more and more people and more skills that higher education and education institutions that used to work in a more traditional way of building curriculum that are approved in sessions of several years, et cetera, find it hard to keep up with the pace of change. Now to that, we need to add 2020 and now 2021, unfortunately, with COVID. So COVID actually accelerated a lot of the aspects that were already there and made the future of work the present of work. So right now, when a lot of positions had to go online, so rapidly new platforms like the Zoom platform and others, and different devices, positions, etc., changed significantly and also required people to gain new skills and new capabilities to be relevant. Now, if we think about what happened right now post-COVID, or hopefully soon post-COVID, we can see that based on the Microsoft report from a few months ago, during what was then called the Great Lockdown globally, this event actually accelerated the process of digitalization that started years before. And right now, when we look at the next years ahead, we understand, according to the Microsoft report, that by 2025, which is pretty in the near future, about 150 million new jobs will be created in different tech-related fields, from software development to cybersecurity and privacy positions. So this is a tremendous change in the workspace. And actually, the world is looking at the education institutions, especially higher education institutions and vocational training companies, to solve this challenge. And the problem is that this challenge also requires us as educators and as education companies to change the paradigm, to understand that we need to look at education differently in order to be relevant to this pace of change. For example, if the old paradigm of education put much more emphasis on theoretical education, then the new paradigm needs to put more emphasis on the hands-on part of education, meaning that although the academic concept in nature is based on strong theoretical concepts, in some positions, like cybersecurity, which I will demonstrate in a few minutes, the hands-on component is actually more important because the theory is not affecting so much on the actual work, and the actual work is changing so rapidly that you have to keep updating the curriculum, the skills, the labs, the learning environments in order to even be relevant for the current job market. Now, another aspect is about, curriculum and content that is lagging versus one that is evergreen. It's not that the old paradigm wanted the content and curriculum to be lagging, but the approval process of curriculum, for example, is so long sometimes, and until you approve the curriculum in the current concept, the curriculum is not relevant anymore. So that's, for example, in the context of cybersecurity. Also, things that are generic are moving to be more adaptive learning. So not necessarily if everyone sits in one classroom, it doesn't mean that they all learn in the same way. So the learning needs to be more adaptive to the learner. And that actually making the learning much more accelerated and efficient, and moving the learning from being teacher-centered to being learner-centered. The expectation from learning in 2021 is to put the emphasis and the focus on the learner and not on the teacher. So we need to think about different concepts, from flipped classrooms to blended learning to different accelerated online methodologies. So our learning will be relevant and eventually will meet the expectations of not just doing good research, which is an important aspect of higher education, but also to be career-oriented and career-focused, which is one of the main concerns of most students and learners around the world. Now, in the context of my company, Cybint, and also I try to focus on that aspect today, I want to demonstrate these things from the concept of cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is one segment, one of the fastest growing segments in the tech world, but you can put it in one line with data science and software development that require more people, but the pace of growth and change in cybersecurity is a bit more rapid, just because this is about defending against an offensive side, an attacker side, a hacking side that is always trying to trick us and develop new methodologies that we need to protect against. So when we think about cybersecurity as the global problem in the future job market, we understand that today, when we look at the market, there are hundreds of thousands of unfilled positions in Europe, in the United States, millions of unfilled positions in the Asia Pacific. It means that just to keep up with the current demand of the market, we need today about 4 million additional people in the cybersecurity market. And this is actually just going to be accelerated. And the question is, how can we in education, whether higher education or vocational training, can be part of the solution? Because this global problem requires a global solution. If we look at it locally in the United States and even choose one state, one of the biggest states like Texas, in Texas alone, there are over 47,000 unfilled cybersecurity positions. So it's a problem, it's a global problem, but eventually it has local effects, because it means that organizations, companies, government agencies that are based in Texas and are looking to hire cybersecurity professionals to defend their organizations, their data, their privacy, their mechanisms and processes and systems, are unable, in many cases, to hire the most qualified people, or sometimes unable to hire people at all. And at the same time, we have people in economic distress and unemployment rates that are going up. So we need to find a way to balance this. How can we take people from the unemployment side, moving them to the employed side, and solve two problems: making people more employable, solve the unemployment problem, and help the market deal with the growing demand in different aspects like in cybersecurity. So in the context of education institutions like universities and colleges, I would like to suggest three main ways to solve the problem, or at least to tackle it, if not to solve it completely. And when we work at Cybint with education institutions around the world, we see that most institutions choose one of the following paths, if not all of the following paths. We call it the non-degree path, the 4-degree path, and the corporate training path. Now, I want to start with the non-degree path. I'll explain every one of them and how they can be relevant to your school. But I want to start with the non-degree path. The non-degree path is actually the decision or a decision that a school makes, which is not just offering degree programs, but also offering accelerated learning programs to take people from 0 to employed or from some point to employed. The emphasis is on employment. That is mostly related to skills that are in demand in the market. So a very common term for the non-degree programs is what we know as bootcamps. And we can see coding bootcamps, data bootcamps, and now more and more, including with Cybint, cybersecurity bootcamps. So when we think about a bootcamp, when a school decides to offer a bootcamp, this is usually a few hundred hours of accelerated learning that is being done either fully on site or fully online or in a blended mode. But it allows the school to expand its offering beyond just the regular degree offering. Many students or many learners understand that degree or a full degree is not necessarily the solution for them. Or they may have gone through an academic degree program and now they want to reskill themselves into a new position. And higher education and vocational training organizations can be relevant in offering these kind of solutions. So when we think about Cybint as an example, Cybint is offering through Cybint's partners in different institutions and academies around the world, the Cybint Bootcamp to take someone from 0 to employed in cybersecurity. And after running this around the world, we see great success with many organizations, high employment rates, high satisfaction rates. It started on site and then it moved to Cybint's online platform, even pre-COVID, but post-COVID, this is actually something that everyone can learn from their own home, from their apartment. So a distant learning becomes something that is relevant, and the learning experience actually was not damaged because they're still learning in cohorts online and they can achieve the same results just from the convenience of their apartment. So bootcamp is one thing that schools need to consider to integrate into their offering, whether these are cybersecurity bootcamps like the Cybint Bootcamp, or these are other bootcamps like not just security, like development or data analysis. That's a decision that the school makes based on the demand of the local market and the competition of the local market. In that case, the school generates new revenue channel, the school attracts new students, and the school actually solves a problem in the region, both from lowering the unemployment rates and by providing the solutions for the local industry and strengthening the connection between the school and the local industry. So that's an example of the 4-degree aspect. And Cybint is working with organizations around the world, but it's not just Cybint. So if we take another organization like HackerU, HackerU is another leading organization originated from Israel, now growing rapidly in the United States. So HackerU model is also to partner with higher education institutions. This is just a part of the list of their partners in the United States. And you can see some of the most prestigious organizations in the United States. And once the partnership between HackerU and one of these organizations is signed, then HackerU is starting to offer these non-degree bootcamp programs. They call it digital career skills and other work-related programs. They start usually with cybersecurity. So every school chooses like an entry point. So cybersecurity can be one of them, but then it can grow to other elements like software development, like data analysis, like QA, or even digital marketing. It depends. So this model is very lucrative for many, many schools. At the same time, while some schools want to focus on the non-degree path, many other schools actually want to focus on their 4-degree path, meaning how to make their degree programs more relevant. regardless of offering a non-degree program. Schools, as we all know, care about many different things when it gets about their students. They care about attracting students, the retention of students, the graduation of students, and the employment of their students. So when we are thinking about our degree programs, focusing on the ability to make our degree programs more relevant for the students will enable them or will allow them to become more employable, and by that also make our programs, our degree programs, more attractive to students. So it will improve the attraction, improve the retention, graduation, and eventually the employment. So an example of what can be done in the future of education to meet the future of work is integrating skills-based training for students in the degree programs. So the challenge that we are trying to solve is how to bypass the fact that the curriculum, at least in the near future, will remain quite, I would say, there is some level of stability and structure that the curriculum in an academic institution have to be. But we can add to the curriculum, or we can use, together with the courses that we have in our core curriculum, we can use other tools, software, lab environment, to make the program more relevant. So one of the examples that we do at Cybint is that we integrate Cybint lab environment, the same lab environment that we also integrate into our bootcamps and corporate training. And we create a package that this lab environment can be used by professors and students in different courses in computer science, cybersecurity, software engineering, and more. Actually, instead of the school developing their own lab system, the school is using the lab system by Cybint, which is a cloud offering, including all scenarios and challenges and content. And at that point, Cybint also keeps updating the infrastructure, updating the content, and updating the challenges to make sure this is always up to date. So this is something we are doing in cybersecurity, but planning on doing in other elements like data science and others. And it helps degree programs, including undergrad degree programs and master's degrees, to be more relevant for their students. And when we think about a lab eventually can be implemented locally, but because we are working in a blended mode and want to focus on online education, a lab environment is actually being developed on a cloud solution like AWS, with a system, with a series of lab environments and other solutions that allow the students to acquire the necessary skills at the exact time they need it. So another aspect that we can focus on is the corporate training. So this is another element, an important element the schools can do. So some schools, in addition to the non-degree and the 4-degree programs, they also integrate what we call corporate training. In that case, the school decides not only to cater for the needs of their degree students or to the needs of individuals in the region in non-degree programs, but also decides to provide solutions to corporations, usually those that are based around or headquartered around the school. In that case, the school can actually become a key factor, a key element in finding solutions for corporate training and employees in the region. So we have so many examples of what Cybint is doing with partners and with education institutions around the world and in the United States. For example, we have different programs of blended learning in secure coding or in cybersecurity essentials that we provide to our schools, to our partners, and they use these programs to train employees in different fields like software engineering, like secure coding, like cybersecurity, data science, and other elements. Eventually, these programs, these workshops, allow the learners to understand different concepts, in this case, let's say information security concepts, to associate themselves with the relevant aspect, to implement them, and to apply them in their own work. And in that case, the school becomes relevant in providing a solution to the corporations around them. What Cybint is providing, like in the concept of online learning, is everything from the environment, the challenges, the scenarios, the content. So the school becomes the hub, but Cybint is the engine behind the school. And many schools are doing it either in a co-branding approach or in a white label approach, but the school remains in the front. So eventually, if I'm summarizing, because we're almost at the end of this session, if I had to summarize this session, I would focus on the following. One of the main things that I think we should take from this session when we think about the future of work is how the future of education can work or be aligned with the future of work. And in order for the future of education to be aligned with the future of work, we need to integrate to our schools or education institutions or vocational training companies, wherever we are coming from, we need to integrate more solutions that will make our learners more employable, that will actually focus on making sure that our programs and our solutions are future-proof. And in that case, I gave these 3 examples to make our programs future-proof. We can either integrate more non-degree programs in our offering, for example, offering bootcamps to the community. We can integrate different labs and simulation and hands-on tools in our own degree programs to attract more students and to allow the students to be more employable. And we can also decide to go beyond the individuals and students and focus on the needs of the corporations around us. In that case, providing workshops and other solutions from fully online to blended that will help the organizations around us to upskill their employees in different tech-related fields. I hope this session was useful to you. Please feel free to reach out after the session directly to me. What you can see here in the QR code is access to my personal LinkedIn, and you can also reach out to me to my personal email. As mentioned, the focus that we all have, I guess, together as educators is how to reskilling the workforce and upskilling the industry to meet the demand of the future workforce and to help students be more employable and to help companies solve their demand and shortage of skilled employees. Thank you so much for your time and have a great rest of the day.